briefly, I want to clarify some of the confusion on how we calculate both absolute and relative change with a lot of emphasis kind of put on being able to calculate percent change or relative change. This will help make up for some of the points that you might have missed out on your quiz. Later on this week, I will get some homework questions up that will then replace any of the points that you missed out on these calculations during the quiz in the second lab. Okay, so first let's start with the definition. So if we look at what absolute change is, this is the difference between two scores in the units of measurement, and we can say that these are expressed numerically. I think the example I gave in class would just be if I made a 90 on a quiz and Bobby made an 80 on a quiz, then the absolute difference would be 90 minus 80, which would be an absolute difference of 10. I think one of the concepts that caused some confusion, though, and I apologize for kind of skipping over it a little bit, is being able to calculate the relative difference, which we can define as the difference between two scores expressed as a percent of one of the scores, or in other words, calculating percent change. So there's two different methods on how to calculate percent change. You can do whichever one is easier for you, but what I'll do is I'll provide both methods, and we'll move to the problem from the quiz, and I will work them out on the calculator to show you how you would do that. So in method one, the first step you would need to do is calculate the absolute difference. So that's essentially giving you the original number minus the second number, and then we will divide the absolute by the original number and then convert to a percentage by multiplying by 100. Method two is a little different, but it cuts out the absolute difference. This is the method I kind of presented in class, but what you want to do is divide the new value by the original value, convert to a percentage by multiplying by 100, and then subtract 100% from that value. Again, that's maybe not super clear just looking at the formulas, but let's move on and make some of the calculations. So this is the question that we had on the quiz. So let's walk through how it did. First, in the first 3 months, you'll see the person drop from 230 pounds to 213 pounds. In the second 3 months of his weight loss, he dropped from 213 pounds down to 198 pounds. Therefore, in the total 6-month period, he went from 230 all the way down to 198 pounds. So first, I think the easiest would be to look at the absolute value. So in that first 2 months, again, the original value, 230 pounds, minus his new weight would be 213 pounds, giving us an absolute difference of 17 pounds. If we look at what happened in the second 3 months, the person went from 213 pounds all the way down to 198 pounds, giving us an absolute difference of 15 pounds. And we can make the exact same calculation here. The starting weight, 230 pounds minus 198 pounds, gives us 32 pounds. So that should be relatively simple. One thing to note is when you're kind of calculating these absolute differences, what you're going to need to do is kind of start with the largest number first, or you're going to get a negative number, which is fine as long as you know what the negative and the positive mean. And kind of to be specific, this is a change of 17, but we can also say that this is a decrease by 17 pounds. So you just need to always keep in mind which direction your absolute difference is going. Okay, if we look at how to calculate relative, again, looking at method one here, this is where we take the absolute difference, divide that by the original number, and then multiply by 100 to get it to a percent. So I'll show you what that looks like briefly, but it's 17 and divided by the original number, 230 pounds, gives us 0.07391, etc., etc. We'll multiply by 100, and the value then will get us 7.39, or I shortened it here to 7.4%. Method 2 will give you the exact same, so what we'll do is we'll start with a new number, 213, divided by the original number, which gives us 0.926. If we multiply that by 100 to convert that, and then what we'll do is then subtract 100. So what we see is it went down, as we know, by 7.4%. I'll add that here. Okay, so if you look at that, you can do them either way. It's the same, you get the same value. It just depends on how you think about it easiest. For me, the second method is the one that comes to mind, but I have a feeling a lot of you will think just calculate the absolute difference, divide by the original, and that'll give us a percent change. Will be easier. Again, just briefly, I'll calculate these. So 15 divided by 213 times 100. So the answer for that should have been 7%, 7.04%, and this is a change in the negative direction. If we calculate it by method 2, 213 divided by 198, which is 1.075, and then we subtract 100. That didn't come out right. Let's try that again. All right. So before I go too far, so I had these backwards. So this needs to be the new value, 198 divided by 213, to make this calculation work out. So I changed that. So let's try the recalculation. 119 divided by 213 times 100, and then minus 100 will give us our percent change. So we get, again, that same value, negative 7% decrease. And again, this formula is right. So it's the initial value, or the new value divided by the original value. And again, that gives us this value here of 13.9%. All right, I think that kind of just sums up how to calculate that. Again, I'll get some homework up soon, but that just kind of gives you the formulas here on this page for you to be able to work through calculating that percent change. If you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me a quick email, stop me after class, or come by office hours. Be happy to walk you through any of the steps that might have been confusing.